We all want to be successful and we all want to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
We all want that. And we strive for that. We pursue that. But with faulty information, and we're not producing those results.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why, because the information that we've been given from society, especially the Western culture, is completely backwards. And that's why we're suffering so much. And that's why we're not happy and we're not successful.
And welcome to the Consciousness of the Way. I am your humble servant and Sifu, Taoist Master San Ching, and I have an incredible guest here today. All things manifestation, all things realized in empowering yourself in all different dimensions of consciousness. Sterling Mire is here today. Welcome to the podcast, my friend. I'm very, very excited to have you here, and I just love to really spread the word of your insight and your mastery and what you do in the world of, changing some of your reality. Without any further ado, I would like you to share with the audience more about yourself and how we got to this journey where you're just a walking almanac of interesting and profound ways to acquire awareness. Without any further ado, I'll be quiet.
Thank you so much for having me on your show, Sanchi. A little bit of a background and how I got involved in this. Well, you could call it work, you could call it a practice, you could call it an inquiry about life. But really, it started so long ago because I think, even being 5 years old, I knew I wanted to have an extraordinary life. I didn't know how that was going to be, but I was already in touch with that. I just knew there was a huge world out there that I wanted to experience fully. I wanted to live fully. So it really started then, but it wasn't until, I'd say, like more of a conscious discovery or education started when I was approximately 15 or 16, when my aunt gave me a book called Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz, this old book. And I read it and I thought it was really interesting. I loved what it had to say about consciously creating your life and living a fulfilling life. The only problem is that I couldn't have those experiences like the ones he was describing in the book. So I felt very frustrated. Of course, reading the book, I was very inspired. But afterwards, I felt very frustrated because I was like, I can't seem to produce these kinds of miraculous results. And it sounds so great. And I do believe there's some truth to it. I just can't access it. I continued reading things. I continued studying the works of like Wayne Dyer, Existentialism. I started reading, Buddhism and Christianity, and even studied psychology in college. I did all this stuff to try to learn more about how to create an extraordinary life. And, the list goes on and on and on. But the point is, I felt like I really researched and did as much as I could on my own. And although the information was great, I had no way to access it myself. And I still believed there was truth to it. So what I ended up doing was taking the knowledge that I had acquired and I put together a system that I could experiment with and I could apply to my own life. And I cherry picked all the things that I really felt were essential. And I left a lot of the fluff out that I felt like was just complicating the process and I didn't feel was totally necessary. So I put together this system and I applied it to my life. And I experimented with it for 5 years. That means that I used it for 1 year, would log the results. Second year, I kind of just do life like everybody else knows to do it because I'm a healthy skeptic. And I thought, well, maybe this was just a fluke. So then I did it again on the third year. I applied the system, logged the results, and then, I did this process for 5 years until I was really satisfied and thought, okay, this system is delivering like every single time I use it. But being the healthy skeptic, I didn't stop there because I thought, well, maybe it works for me. I don't know if it works for everyone. And I put together a blind test study group for a year that consisted of 15 people, and I had them apply it. And at the end of the 12 months, everything that they had, I'd say about 90 to 95% of everything that they had wanted in every area of their life came to fruition. And even the 5% or 10% that was still outstanding was already showing proof or budding. It was already showing that it was in process. So I encourage these people to really create, like they had a magic genie. What do you want for the next 12 months? Like, go big, play big. So they did. And if you were to just read what these people were up to, you'd be like, yeah, it might take a lifetime to accomplish that. That's a lot of stuff because we're talking about, health, relationships, career, money, finances, travel, adventure, hobbies, just, home, all areas of one's life. And they created what was ideal or perfect in each of those categories and received such results. So I was blown away. I was really overjoyed. And this was a hobby for me. This was a hobby that I had on the side. This was not something that I was doing as a line of work like I am now. I used the system to achieve extraordinary results in the other things that I did. I was always a creative person. And I spent time as an actor. I spent time as a singer-songwriter, and I got to tour the world, and I got to fulfill all of these dreams. And when I took a break from touring, this is when I had about a year to myself to think about really what do I truly want to do next. And I needed a little time to kind of think about that.
Mm.
Meanwhile, I had this extra time. So I was spending a lot of time with my friends, and they were always telling me about their troubles and things like that. And I never shared this system with anyone, not even my family. But, being an empath and so compassionate, I said, well, this is what works for me. You might want to try it. And you know what? It took off word of mouth. And next thing you know, I had this business of sharing the AOM system, art of manifestation system, with people all over the world. And that's kind of where, that's my background. That's what has brought me to where I am today. And I could not be happier. I couldn't be any more fulfilled. And I'm so complete and grateful for my past experiences in other careers. And I'm just, I love it, and
Now,
that's where I am. Here we are today talking about it.
well, now I'm like, okay, where's the system? I want the system. You've got to give me the system. I'm really excited because I'm very curious about how you blend um, your perception of reality. Really, it's like, how do you refine that to acquire this skill? Because everyone walks through their life with this viewpoint, and they're either half full or half empty, and that generally is where you start off in acquiring skills from, say, yourself in this system of understanding. Okay, well, whatever is working or is not working for me, I need to find something that is working. I would like to acquire this goal, and it's not working for me. Oh my goodness, Sterling's got this system, and I've got all these people that are telling me it's a great system. Let me check this out. Is it? How would you describe it from, you know, a more organic psychological aspect, or deeper into the unconscious, or is it sort of like got a little twist on some type of like metaphysical, you know, quantum physics aspect? How would you describe it in of itself?
Wow, that's a really good question. The best way I can say an answer to that question is that it is a step by step system. It's a no brainer. So it doesn't really matter your background. In other words, you could be spiritual, you could be of a certain faith,
I love that.
you could be an atheist, you could be, it doesn't matter. It works for everyone. Because why is that? The one thing we all have in common is that we are creators. And when you look at life fundamentally, what is it?
Hmm.
It's very simple. It's a series of creations and experiences. You create something, you experience it, and you get an outcome. Create something, you experience it, you get an outcome. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You could be meditating, you could be sleeping, you could be cooking, you could be having a conversation like we're doing. It doesn't matter. Everything is creation and an experience. And you are the one who determines what you're going to create and how you're going to experience it and your outcomes. You create this either consciously or unconsciously, it's being created by you.
Hmm.
And when you awaken to this, it's really clear to see that. It's very, very, very clear when you wake up at the wheel of life and you have this awakening and this awareness, you can see it all very, very simply because really life is simple. It's not complicated. There's the way it appears to be complicated is all just a self construct. It's just an illusion that we create ourselves. The truth is, it's really very simple. We were always designed to live simply. This is not a complicated world, even though, yes, it can look like one. So it's a step by step, whole and complete system that allows you to manifest anything and everything that you want. We are creators, like I said, series of creations and experiences. The problem is if we don't understand the processes of creating what it is that we want, we can get a lot of what we don't want.
So I mean, that's it. You hit on such a great point. So you talk about the processes and you know the system, which I constantly reiterate whenever I talk to somebody about whether it's manifestation, healing, anything of that nature. You must have a groove or a repeatable, confirming experience that you can validate in your everyday life. And if it's not repeatable and you can't have it realized, then it's more conceptual in your mind as opposed to something that's tangible that you can validate. Look, I did, AOM. Guess what happened? After this a period of time, by following Sterling's instruction, I was able to create this. And that's why I think it's so valuable what you're putting out is demystifying this need that there is, sitting in the lotus position with 3 incense, singing kumbaya to call in your angels, guides, and guardians to create a different change of your reality is unnecessary when you start to realize the true nature of you. Does that make sense? Or
Absolutely, it totally makes sense. We are so much more powerful than we give ourselves credit for. And we're here to create. We are from a creative source, whatever you want to call that. We are made in that likeness. We what else are we doing? We're not doing anything else, but we're creating, experiencing. And and that's all there is to it. It's that simple. So when you get in touch with this, it feels the most natural, I mean, than you've ever felt. You'll feel more natural in life when you get in touch with this. And
Right.
even though it may be a foreign way to approach life, because the information we've been given is 180 degrees backwards than what the truth is.
Right.
Well, no wonder we're confused. And you look at the state of the world and you go, it's not very healthy. Why is that? Well, the information we've been given to approach life and to create all that we truly want. And again, the other commonality is we all want to be successful and we all want to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
We all want that. And we strive for that and we pursue that. But with faulty information, and we're not producing those results. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the reason why, because the information that we've been given from society, especially the Western culture, is completely backwards. And that's why we're suffering so much. And that's why we're not happy and we're not successful. And very few there are some out there, of which some I have actually interviewed, and they are doing the AOM system one way or another. They're doing it. So because there's a few out there that are experiencing success and happiness, this is not exclusive to them.
Mm-hmm.
We are all able to access that with the truthful, accurate information and tools to use. It's going to get us there. That's what the AOM system is all about. And I have not found anything that comes close to delivering what this system delivers, me as a participant as well, than this system. And it's so fast acting. That's another thing.
Mm-hmm.
My clients, they just have to take a leap of faith for 1 second. As soon as they start part 1 of 4 parts, they're already experiencing tangible results
Mm.
instantly, immediately. And boom, there comes the confidence, there comes the evidence and the proof to continue on.
Now, I mean, you definitely transmit a very maternal earth sort of energy. So you're extremely nurturing in your nature. So how you're able to help people perceive whatever it is that you're teaching them, that instantly creates a rapport that makes it a lot easier to listen to what you're saying. Would you say there's a I know I don't want you to hand out the secret sauce, but just give me a little taste of something. Like how is it structured? What would you define it as? Is it demystifying belief systems? How are people getting into this groove of being able to manifest? Because I mean, in definition, what is your definition of how someone manifests?
Well, with this system, there's 4 parts.
Okay.
And the first one is all about removing the faulty belief systems
Mhm.
that are out of alignment for supporting what you want to create.
Right.
So we start working with disappearing those blocks immediately, which is so liberating and so freeing and so wonderful in itself. Now you're in this free space. You've removed all the blocks. It's like a rebirth. It's wonderful.
Wow.
All that negative energy from the past is gone.
Mhm.
You're really free.
Mhm.
Now you can look at your life as this blank canvas because all that stuff has been removed. You've got
Mhm.
this blank canvas to work with.
Wow.
Now you can start to create the life that you truly, truly envision for yourself, that you truly love,
Mhm.
without conceived or perceived limitations or constraints, blocks from the past. So now you're really freed up to do that.
Mhm.
Now you're in an endless world of possibilities. Now you get to choose what it is that you want to create and experience, and you create that in
Wow.
every area of your life. And then parts 3 and 4 is all about 3 is all about the importance of who you're being, because who you're being is going to give way to openings for action.
Mhm.
And what you do.
Mhm.
And then that lends itself to the manifestation, right? So who you're being is what is going to inform what you do, which will then create an outcome. And that's part 3. And part 4 is about how to stay on track,
Mm,
which is
right.
very important. How to
Ye
stay on track. How do you water and feed that garden every day so it grows exactly the way you intended? So
and
that 4th part is is really exciting. My clients love it because guess what you get to do? You get, by now, it's really exciting. You get to create the ideal perfect day in the morning and have it happen. So you're manifesting here on a daily basis to stay on track. And when you review the day at the end of the day, you're like, oh my gosh, everything I wanted to happen happened. Like 90%, 100%.
Wow. That's really, really I mean, it sort of comes, it has echoes of people mentioning sort of things of the nature of the universe, laws of attraction, you know, like attracts like, this type of like messaging. Now, whether you word it that way doesn't really matter how someone acquires that realization. It's whatever your techniques are that give them the awareness that, you know, they start as, you know, this separate component that then realize that they are truly the master keeper creator of their reality. And then all of a sudden you have this, you know, epic day where, you know, I mean, I could just simplify it to, you know, the glass is half full and it stays half full all day long if that's how you perceive your reality. That's what I'm getting from what you're saying to me. Is that kind of along those lines, or?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, basically, when you're using this system, you are safeguarded. You have all the tools to create the next 12 months of your life. And like I said, stay on track every day, which ensures that you are on track, that this is all coming. And there's no such thing as time. So things can materialize out of the blue
Mm.
suddenly and dramatically. You know, my clients and what they all experience dramatic results. Everybody's creating a little bit of a different life. Everybody's leading a different life, right?
Mm.
Of course, it all has that common denominator of success and happiness.
Right, right.
Okay. But there are all these like different versions of expressions of that, and they're creating their lives. And these things happen really quickly. There is no such thing as a limitation, there's no such thing as time. So you can supersede these perceived limitations very easily once you're working that system. And the results are extraordinary.
Hmm.
People have, you know, I have incredible stories to share, all of which are, like I said, all my clients have dramatic results. So I could share a couple of them with you.
Yeah, yeah, that would be fantastic. The audience would love that. I mean, because it's kind of like you're sort of touching on a little bit of an understanding of a dissolving of a certain way you look at things, like time and space are null and void, maybe a construct of some other way you perceive reality. That would then lean a little bit more on some understanding of you know, physics at all, or you don't even touch on that. You just sort of share with them time and space is really not even in the equation, or how does that work out?
It, well, really, time and space really isn't. I mean, I've had clients who use this system to cure themselves of incurable diseases,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yep.
know. So I've also had, you know, clients say like, oh, I thought this was going to take a long time and it just happened just like that, you know. And so yeah, they go over and beyond that because it's only if you say so, only if you entertain the idea that it's going to take a long time will it be that way, because you've created it to be that way. But if you give up that belief and you're open to it not being that way, then it shall be. And you know what? It's powerful
Yeah.
just to entertain the possibility. I
Hmm.
remember a long time ago, I thought about what about the concept of things just coming to me? Like this was back when I was creating my system, and my system's over 22 years old. And I thought, well, why do I have to work hard, blood, sweat, and tears, and chase after stuff? What if it just comes to me? And like I said, this is a long time ago, but I was willing to look at that as a possibility. I was open to it.
Right.
And that was enough for me to experience that. And I never looked back. I said, okay, great. That's the way I have it for myself. Things just come to me. I don't have to chase after anything anymore. I just let it come to me. Great, perfect. What a wonderful way to live life. I'm on board. I'm doing this. And I never looked back. But so it's all according to what you truly want to create. And when you have that awakening and your awareness is awakened, then like I said, everything is very clear and you can see it. When I had a client who came to me, I remember he was devastated. He had a major breakup with his fiance. She just left, didn't even give him a reason why. He couldn't get an answer from her. He was just devastated, came to me crying, please help me put the pieces of my life together. And he was an aspiring musician. Nothing was going on, but he had dreams of being a musician, songwriter, and composer and musician. Within a month, he was working full time as Rihanna's right hand songwriter, spending all of his days and nights at the studio in Malibu working with her on her songs. And everything in all areas of his life completely transformed. It took him an hour and a half after 30 days to tell me how different his life is. And at the end of it, I said, did you forget something? And he said, I don't think so. And I said, are you sure? And he goes, yeah. And I said, what about that broken heart you had when you came to me? And he said, oh my God, I totally forgot. It seems like years ago. That seems so long ago. I totally forgot that happened. Yeah, you're right. I'm complete. My heart is healed and I'm doing great. And I'm totally complete with that in my life. And yeah, so then next thing you know, he's on the Grammys. I've got pictures of him on the Grammy, red carpet and living his dream.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So when they qualify the experience or whatever they're creating, their manifestation, is there some type of validation when they're putting it in motion, creating, clearly some type of like affirmation, incantation, something has to be set into their field of reality that would make it so. So would
Oh,
that be would that be clear, like something in that ballpark? They've got to get a feeling of something, right? Because I always remind people from my perspective, I always remind people the whole sum of your life experience is a thought, feeling, and an emotion, and that's it. That's it. Past, present, and future. That's your reality every second of every minute. What you do with that can be instantaneous. And I always remind people, if you're thinking, you're not knowing. If you're knowing, you're feeling. And when you feel, then it is registered as a realization, because that kinesthetic charge, that energetic charge, as amplified or as dim, is a realization, and that sort of like validates the sort of brain waves that you're creating that makes you synchronize with a higher state. So when you're doing these types of things in the manifestation state, affirming, confirming, repeating, these are types of things where you need to feel the groove. There's like this energetic component, because everything is energy, that you have to have something that validates, okay, I've done this today and it's rippled out this way. Laws of attraction, if you start off with something good, you always start and end the day with something positive, your reality becomes positive. The simplicity, you and I understand this. It's like when you mentioned it to me, I was like, I understand absolutely what you're saying. But I honestly have found over doing this 30 years, a lot of people do not understand the the depth of what we speak of, even though it's simplistic in of itself, people overlook it, gloss over it, dismiss it, don't realize that they can create their reality like this because they're trapped in their personality. They're trapped in the sum of their life experiences, which is their supposedly what they believe. And I'm just really curious. 30 days to acquire that type of and I would say from everything you've shared with me, that is something that was only 30 days because he created the 30-day. Like
No,
if you no, go
no,
ahead.
it's not because he created the 30 days. Within 30 days,
Mm-hmm.
all areas of your life will be transformed and unrecognizable
Okay.
through working the system because it works that quickly.
Right.
So this is something that all clients get.
Okay, good. Okay,
Yeah.
so because I always remind people, it's like when I teach someone something like a healing, where we're getting a high like physical manifestation. When you see like let's say flesh altered before your very eyes at that level of consciousness. So, say for example, burning hand, broken ankle. I've seen it all. Gangrenous foot reform itself in 30 minutes. You name it, I've seen it. That type of transformation is a frequency. And
Yeah.
so when I say 30 days, so now I understand this is the framework that you give people that are also, I mean, I guess it validates a progression. So if you've got someone who's a super skeptical person that meets you and goes, well, I want to transform myself, you give them a little bit more runway to frame their reality and validate it on a daily basis that makes it real. Because I mean, I'll do healings on people and they'll literally spend 6 months being completely delusional because they've had an injury like a torn muscle or something internalized that is healed in 30 seconds, and they spend 6 months attempting to destroy it and then go back to the drawing board because it's so mind-bending that and perhaps maybe it's my fault because I didn't share with them the mechanisms that create that reality. But it's like normally when they meet someone like yourself or myself, they take that information, shift their consciousness, and you discover this through your own exploration. Your life has just been nothing but amazing. Every day is an amazing day. I mean, people ask me, okay, what is it? How are you doing today? And I'm like, it's good to be me. I don't know what to tell you. That's the reality. So when you do this, do you feel like you need a safeguard of like a 30-day period? Because if someone adopts your stuff and literally wakes up the next day and they're off to the races, they've already materialized and manifest something just because they've absolutely replicated and absorbed the nature of everything you share with them, and they believe it from a cellular level on every levels of consciousness, and they wake up the next day and poof, it's there, whatever it is. Would you say you safeguard it in a progression, or you give them the 30 days just to, how would you?
Well, I think 30 days is just a comfortable place
Mm-hmm.
to allow yourself that time for these changes to occur.
Mm-hmm.
And when I work with my clients, we review every 30 days.
Okay.
Look at the progress being made. And things are happening, of course, they're materializing, they're happening, they're changing within that time frame. In fact, when you first start the first session, you're already getting results. I've had people say they got unexpected, phone calls and emails from people saying whatever it is that they wanted to hear. Maybe it's, information that they've been waiting on, or maybe it's an apology, or maybe it's something, but it's something that they receive that is desirable, even from the very first session.
That's
Manifesting itself is actually very simple process. It's 4 parts. Number 1, it's the idea, right?
mm-hmm.
You have an idea, and then number 2 is the emotion or desire. And then number 3 is action, and number 4 is the materialization. So if it's so simple, why are people having problems getting what they want? Because somewhere between step 2 and 3, things go off track. So you have an idea, but the emotional response is out of alignment and doesn't support the
Mhm.
idea,
Mhm.
it will not come to fruition. But
Mhm.
let's say you have like, oh, I want to be in love, I want to meet a significant other, and that's my idea. And my desire is like, yes, this would be amazing. Yes, I would love that. Okay, great. That's all in alignment. Perfect. Third step, take action. Oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And now you've kind of just taken that manifestation and aborted it. You, and
I love the everyone else's. I love what listening and seeing how other people perceive their reality and how they create it. There is no one size fits all. There is no like, and when someone like yourself has such a powerful tool to align people, it really gets me excited because um, there is really no right or wrong way. But that in of itself is conceptual for most people. But it's like affirming it and confirming it through the experience through, and that's why I love this system you're talking about, because human beings are creatures of habit. They like things that are repeatable, and moreover, there's a sort of a psychodynamic loop you can create, which we call a heteroaction. I don't know whether you're familiar with that, but that comes more from a psychologist, hypnotherapist type of like perspective. I kind of integrate these things into transformative manifestation, healing, channeling, whatever. I twist these things in because people want to go, well, how would that work for me? Because I'm not some Taoist guru, healer, channeler, priest, whatever you are. I just want to get a handle on my reality. I don't want I always remind people, I want your emotions don't control you, you control your emotions. And people are like, whoa, that sounds kind of, I don't know, a little intense. And I'm like, well, it's how you perceive that. But I mean, that's really the blockage from what you're sharing with me. That's one of the contending issues. That signature you're speaking of is an emotional state, right?
yeah, exactly. Well, like you were talking about earlier, incantations or mantras and things like that, repeated things, when people work with me and they've created their 12 months, yeah, then they're making that declaration in the morning and they are generating the energy of it being a reality now. And they do this in the morning and also before bed to sustain that energy, to keep it alive. And that we were talking earlier about everything is energy. And yes, it is. It absolutely is. Even inanimate objects are energy. Everything comes from an organic source. Everything truly is energy. I've had so many experiences with inanimate objects and cars and electronics and all that based on what I'm creating. So if I'm creating frustration and this isn't working, it's not going to work. I'm going to have problems with it, because that's what I'm creating. Then if I switch that narrative and I say this is working and we're in, you know, this is a seamless process, then it will be, and it does happen
Right.
every time, and I am very much, like I said, a healthy skeptic. And even though I'm an empath and I'm quite intuitive and things like that, I still feel very scientific. I still feel very much like I need concrete results. I'm still, like I said, that healthy skeptic. I'm not just going to believe in stuff just because. I need proof. I need proof. And that's why I always
I
encourage
love it.
people when they work the system to approach it like an experiment. That
Hmm.
helps you to get out of your own way. It helps you to approach it with curiosity and wonder and excitement.
Hmm.
I wonder what would happen if I did this. Then what would happen? And
Hmm.
it brings so much fun and play into the process, and it takes a lot of pressure off. So
Hmm.
you can approach it that way. You get this result, and you keep doing these experiments, if you will, like applying the AOM system to your life, you keep getting results and they're consistent, and there's no, you discover there are no accidents. It's consistently giving me the same result. Oh my God, there must be something to this. How can I not believe it? I'm getting consistent results.
So would you say remove the emotional content or stay in a certain frequency?
No, I'm saying you have to generate it. You sustain it in the morning, and at night you sustain it. During the day, you want to let it go, let it flow, and let it grow. There's a balance, and a lot of people agree on this, and you can research it about manifesting this balance, about having this intention and having a focus on something that you want to manifest. But then you also have to let it go. Let the energy flow. You got to let it go. People are like, what? How do you do two opposites at the same time? Well, that's what the system's beautiful about. The system is that it inherently is designed so that you do strike the balance of intention and focus and letting it go and flow. Life is a paradox, and the truth of all things are two opposites do coexist at the same time. Yes, it can't. I mean, you can live that reality. I know it's not something we practice, but we can do that. And when we do that, everything's in peace and harmony and flow. When you can be significant and insignificant at the same time, when you can have an intention but let it go at the same time, this is magical. This is miraculous. This works, period.
Well, yeah, I mean, for me, but the emotional content's not important, or it is?
No, I just said generating the energy, right?
Well, when you say generating the energy,
that's an emotion.
Well, it can be, but that's what I mean. Like, so if we're saying,
when I say generating an energy, let's say I'm manifesting a significant other and I'm generating the energy. So I'm asking myself in a 1 to 2 minute mini meditation, I'm asking myself, what is the experience of this? What does it feel like? What is that reality like? And it feels great, and it feels inspiring, and it feels fulfilling, and it's exciting. And those are all emotions.
Yes.
And that's generating the energy to me. That's what that means. And it feels good, and it feels so real, and it feels like I'm already living it. Perfect. You've generated the energy in that moment, and everything is creative. So when I say that, it's akin to a mother conceiving a child. It's akin to planting a seed, and you foster, you nurture it, you water it, you feed it, you stay on track so it becomes a reality. So it materializes on the physical plane.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I would say I get it. I get it 1000%. I mean, generally speaking, when you look at the construct of how things are material, how I explain it to someone, if I show them a manifestation, magic, healing, whatever it is, silly things, like, oh, someone has a bus stop out the front of their business. They come to me and they're like, this is being put through the planning committee to be materialized in front of my business in the next 30 days. And I'm like, how bad do you want it removed? Sure, no problem. Magic done. Boom. That type of like construct is a frequency, right? So when I do it, detouring other people's reality, as opposed to, say, someone who is just learning from me, the understanding is that emotional content, just validating everything you're saying, but it's a consistent, repeatable thing. So for me, I teach people how to acquire that state, and I measure it with EEGs to get the brainwave. So normally they'll produce a 40 hertz or above gamma brainwave through the experience that I teach them. Then they're able to repeat it. So if it's a thought, feeling, visual, audible experience creating a kinesthetic charge that makes it real to them, then all of a sudden, okay, now it's real. So what am I doing with this? I've sat back, I felt relaxed, I've repeated myself. Now, how does that apply to my reality outside of the training, right? So your training, my training, they've got this sense, this feeling, this energy that we speak of. Now, how is it repeatable? For me, I give them a system to take that. So real world, if you do it once, the way I teach people, you do it once. Now I want you to go out and create conflict. And they're like, what are you talking about? Go on. Someone cuts you off. Someone invest in an emotion that is very low frequency and see how fast you can use the technique I just taught you to elevate it to an ascended frequency in seconds. So you're no longer playing, because people will give you the, and I'm not sure how the people you work with are, but they'll go, look, real world life happens. Like I feel great when I'm singing Kumbaya and I'm in a meditative state and everything else. But how can I apply this to my reality when I get out of the stuff that you're teaching me? I go home, my wife's complaining that, I haven't taken the garbage out. I got 4 kids. The workday was 10 hours long. That remaining that state, the stuff you're talking about, like starting the day, ending the day, and how do you get them to commit to that? Because for me, I just get it from a neurological perspective. You imprint it into creating new synapses in the brain. They then repeat it through a respiration and a technique that I show them so that they can evoke it immediately. So it's like, okay, boom, this second, I can make myself feel this way permanently. How would you perceive it? Would that be something that you would validate or?
Sure. I have 4 tools for what I call transforming circumstances, staying in an authentic place. Um,
Yes, beautiful.
so there's 4 tools, and the 4 tools, the reason there's 4, it depends on the severity of the inauthenticity, depends on how much this inauthenticity has got its hooks in you, So there's 4 different one, one is to do what is called the release exercise that I teach people in the first session, and that's for severe cases.
Right.
And then the second one is to actually, there's a script that I have that's whole and complete that you can speak or go through that transform it. I say it's whole and complete because it has all the fundamental necessities to transform from inauthentic to authentic, from
Wow.
frustrated and angered to peaceful and loving,
Wow.
for instance, right? And it's a very, very short little script that one can repeat. And then the third one is that right? 4, 3, 2. The second one would be what is called a mind's eye activity, which involves there's power in distinguishing what the inauthenticity is. I'm, being angry. Okay, I've made that distinction, for instance. But who and what are my 3 ways of being for that day that I've established in the morning? And moving from one place to another, from inauthentic, angry, being angry or upset, to being whatever that is for that day that you've established. Those 3 ways of being could be excited, inspired, and peaceful, whatever, right? And moving back into those 3 states. The first one, which is for the least severe situations, is to give it up. Let's say you're at the grocery store and somebody rudely, walks over and grabs something and
Real world.
all right, I'm being annoyed. Got it. You know what? I can just give this up. Give it up. It's not worth hanging, because it's such a, like I said, a momentary blip in your experience. You have the power to just be like, you know what? I'm not entertaining this. It's not worth it, and give it up. And that would be, like I said, for something that's just really small and insignificant that kind of bumps into your day. So there's 4 powerful tools that work for transforming any circumstances. And when we talk about inauthentic to authentic, people might be like, what does that mean? We're always being something, creating our way of being, right? And anything that's authentic is rooted in love energy, creative energy. you know, and
Well,
then
that's a beautiful frequency. That frequency you're talking about is something that you've acquired, because it's not, generally speaking, and I'm really curious, because you've clearly really tuned it for all your clients, because the it's conceptual for most, authentic. People. I always tell people, love is not that's a subjective sort of like baseline to really start with. Love to you could be razor blades and bunny rabbits, and to me it could be rainbows and unicorns. It's when you validate an acceptance, like, here, I'll give you the level of gratitude is sort of like accepting, like valuing. It's on the way up to accepting, where I perceive your idea of, or how you train people in authenticity is sort of like, so it's like love, then gratitude. Here, I give you $1. It's like, well, thank you. Or I give you a compliment. Good morning. How are you today? The general interest of a human being's nature, they validate themselves in a sense of gratitude. Whether it's you look beautiful today, or here's $5, they instantly find that state of being. And then, of course, probably elevating to the level that you teach people at, which is being authentic, or I like to call it accepting, and allowing yourself to really tune into that. So is it, do you find that you have any roadblocks? Most people jump into that state that you teach them?
No, because of the tools and the method
Yeah.
allows access to it. The way I define being authentic and inauthentic might be a little different, because being authentic is, which is the context. What is authenticity?
Right.
And it's creating a way of being that's sourced from love, and so that could be peaceful, it could be excited, being accepting, being grateful, being curious, being motivated, being happy, being accepting, being whatever. Like, all the list is endless, truly, of all these ways to express being authentic. What you notice is that you could be peaceful, calm, and zen like, okay? Or ecstatic, euphoric, crazy happy, right? Both look on the surface very different, but the commonality, they're all authentic. And the commonality is love is always present. So if you were being any of those ways that I described, you'll notice there's love there. Do I feel connected to love? Yeah, I do. I feel love there. I feel love, But when we're being inauthentic, it's rooted in, we create out of fear. So if
Mhm.
we're being hostile and angry, sad, depressed, unmotivated, apathetic, whatever, there's a commonality there. They all are connected to fear, fearing something, resisting something, fearing, oh, I don't want that to happen. I'm unmotivated. Why am I unmotivated? Because I don't want to try this because I might fail, or whatever, right? So that's fear, and so there's always something that's there's always fear connecting all that which is inauthentic ways of being. That's the commonality there. And that's kind of the way I describe it. So when you're always in
Beautiful.
a state of
Yeah.
authenticity, you're always going to experience a blissful life. You're always going to get what it is that you want. So I always say the name of the game really is to be authentic.
Wow. I mean, it's just really beautiful. It's really remind the audience of how powerful your expression is, and how you can access it instantaneously. When I hear these throwaway, um, you know, cherry picked statements that people make, like the honeymoon is over, that's a certifiable manifestation of your reality. That's because you've chosen it to be that way. So when you're able to just show people how easy, because the catalyst is, what is it to you? Is it hard? Is it easy? I always remind people, it's like you want a psychic, 101 reading of someone's unconscious behavior. Listen to the words that come out of their mouth. You don't have to go deep into reading people's psychic states and channeling and all this kind of business. Just listen to what comes out of their mouth and how it is constructed in a sentence, and that will determine the inner workings of someone's unconscious. So, it's like the old, oh yeah, I always use this story. I need someone to help me move on the weekend. I asked my buddy John to give me a helping hand, and John says, don't worry, I'm going to try. I'm going to do the best I can to get there this weekend and help you move. And you go, wow, John's going to help me. I can't wait. Monday comes around, you're at work, you're like, hey, John, what's going on, buddy? Well, you're like my bestie. You said you were going to help me move on the week. He goes, yeah, man, I did the best I could. I just couldn't make it out there. That's not what you perceived. What he was really telling you to your face was, I'm going to try, meaning I'm going to fail. I'm not going to do it. I'll do the best I can, meaning I'm very limited in my perception. So the reality is he was never going to help you in the first place. And you could have heard that had you filtered a little bit of the linguistics. And so when you bring us back to this power of authenticity, wow, because that's the true, really an inner working of all things. You can go into the physics, the life coaching, the manifestation coaching, the healing, the guru, this and that. But Sterling has captured this one word that is such a massive catalyst to realize your result is authenticity.
Well, that's your experience. Yeah.
It gathers everything up.
Yeah, we have complete control over that, who we're being, we have control over who we're going to be about that flat tire, which is going to give us our experience and outcome. I'm going to be proactive about it. I'm just going to handle it. I'm not going to make it mean something, because we're meaning making machines. We make meaning out of everything. And when we create that meaning, then that's what we're going to get. Oh, this means I'm going to be late to work, and it means I'm going to be in trouble by the boss, and we're creating that reality. And that's what we're going to get. But if we create that, this is handled, everything is smooth, everything is great, perfect. Everything is going to be complete. When I get there, it's just awesome. Like, it's just going to work out in my favor. It's perfect. And so it is. We create everything with our words. It's amazing when you create that, how it happens the way you said it would. And so people often come to me and they say, I'm confused. I'm creating this stuff. I'm not getting what I want. Did you complete the negative charge and belief systems that are driving your life? Did you do that first? Did you disappear these blocks and faulty belief systems? No, because most people who talk about law of attraction or manifesting never touch on how important it is to first transform the faulty belief system that's holding you back, that's getting you the things that you don't want in life. And that's why it's the first part of when I work with somebody, because it's absolutely critical and essential. And very few people really talk about this, but it needs to be handled first and foremost before you can start creating and manifesting what you truly want.
Wow. And do you help them identify that, like through a certain way that you filter out or vet the person? Like, okay, the biggest one is always, I'm a good person. Okay. There's a reason why you need to say that. There's more a validation of your insignificant deficiencies that are expressed by just having to validate those words of, I am a good person. And I'm like, okay. So when you're looking at, and when you meet a client and they're like, I can't wait to get started, I want to do all these things. And they're like, oh, I'm really excited. I've been following your stuff. I'm authentic. I'm doing all these things. How do you discern or affirm what's really going on in their unconscious as opposed to their conscious?
Well, what we do in the first part is we examine the relationships that we've created in our lives. And when I say this, what people don't realize is that you have a relationship to everything. You have a relationship to everything in your life, down to your toothbrush, everything. You have created a relationship to it. So we have to take those disempowering relationships, transform them, heal them, and make them whole and authentic again. And when does this happen? Where does it happen? Approximately when we start to learn simple language at the age of 3, good, bad, right, wrong, and approximately 17. This is the period, those formative years, when we have created the meanings and the beliefs in our world in relationship to everything that we perceive. So we want to transform any and all of those disempowering relationships that we created during that time period. That's going to the root of everything. And we explore chronologically all of those relationships. It might it might sound like a lot, but it really isn't. It's a lot more simple of a
No,
process.
I'm like I'm bathing in the energy you're putting out there. It's so relaxing and so nurturing, because that's just what you're admitting into your field, into your way of life, into your belief system. And it's beautiful to see, because people don't even, I can come across people that go, I don't believe in energy, I don't do anything. I'm like, okay. 3 seconds later, they're like, I'm not entering that room because I don't like the energy of that person. Ah, there you go. What did I say? You just said, I don't want to go in that room because I don't like the energy of that person. Did I really say that? Yeah. So there's this universal understanding of things that are going on in the unconscious that are either replicated how you perceive it from a reincarnation to your world order from the birth to, you say, age of 17, or moreover other rippling effects. Who knows how you want to see it? I mean, we could go down that spiritual route, but in essence, I always tell people, the second you realize you are all things, all this other nonsense, and I say nonsense, and maybe I'm my personality, but it's like we get deep into oh, why did mommy not give me a cookie and a glass of milk when I was 4? Well, that can be dissolved listening to Sterling here, and just the way that you capture that, because people want to feel like I'm in the presence of someone that can give me the answers that I need. And there's so much grounding and knowing that you give me from just your messaging and your validation of that through your experience. And it comes out like that. That's what people gravitate to. I mean, I don't need to tell you, that's the energy that you're putting out, you're knowing, you're understanding. And people gravitate to that. They're like, oh my goodness. And then it's the repeatable thing. If she's telling me this is so, I see it within her very presence, her demeanor, what she's putting out, how she is perceived from me, then this is an opportunity for me to also acquire that, which is the whole 4-minute mile psychosis. Well, it really is not a psychosis, but on a neurological level, it'd be like, what's a mirroring image, right? So on a neuroplasticity level, you have mirror neurons, I have mirror neurons. If I take a breath in and you take a breath in and you realize you can do the same breath I can, all of a sudden it's realized for you. It's kind of that collective effect. And, I kind of do that a lot with group healings. If I get 1,000 people in a room, boom, that's the connect. Well, how do you do that? It's just a connection. But you are just incredible breath of fresh air, because there's so many there. Everyone has all this twisting and turning and ins and out, and it's so hard. It's so difficult. But you got to do it this way. You got to step on one foot, and you got to affirm for 37 days and not eat red meat and stay out in the sunlight and sing, Zen music. And it gets to a point where, everyone can talk the talk, but can you do the walk? And that comes from the presentation and what you're able to share with, your audience, share with your clients. And it's really refreshing. I just wanted to thank you for,
Thank you. I
you know,
appreciate that acknowledgement. I really do.
well, I mean, I don't need to give it, you're not sitting there waiting for my validation, but I just want you to understand that your incredible insight is having a profound effect. And if I can experience that on face value, having only just met you, and then other people that really want a solution to whatever it is, that burning desire of where they want to go in their life, and they find you, that is a really, really profound, fulfilling moment, because they're going to get the answers that they need, the direction they need to go, and actually have it created in their reality, which is, you know, you're familiar with social media. Oh my goodness, there is a sea of manifestors and healers and all the rest of it, and it gets a little, it gets a little overwhelming for a lot of people if they don't have an insight like you and I do, and they just dive in and go, I want to achieve this and that, and then they get very disheartened very quickly because there's so many different mechanisms. Have you noticed this?
Oh, sure. Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of voices out there on the subject, as there is in many subjects. Whether it's being a doctor or being a mechanic or being a healer, a manifestor, life coach, therapist, whatever. There's tons of them out there, and I know it can be overwhelming, and I know it can be frustrating for people to really link up with the appropriate person. This is why I give 30-minute complimentary consultations with potential clients to see if it's a good fit for them, and and explain clearly exactly how it work, what they can expect from it. And my clients, my current and past clients, are so excited about this work that they always offer their names and numbers. If there's anybody that needs to talk to me about this work, I'm happy to provide my insights, and reaffirm that it's the right choice to make, which makes me feel so blessed. And I love conducting a transparent kind of business, because I have I have only 100% success to share with the world, with my clients and my work, and I have nothing to hide. And so it's that good and that amazing in a world where I know it can be very disappointing and difficult for a lot of people to do this thing called life. It is gives me some peace of mind to know that there is this solution, not just for myself, but clients and everybody out in the world. And it is so comforting to know that there are real solid answers.
And I mean, that's something in a place where most human beings are caught up in the rat and the wheel, we like to call it. So that stays in the forefront of their reality and their myopic, sort of hyper focused beta state of brainwave, and then they just unravel. It's either too many cups of coffee, a bad day that turns into a bad day because they started it that way, and then when they come across someone like yourself and you're able to share with them the foundations, and then there's got to be some, would you believe there's some degree of like because there must be, would you validate something like The Secret? Do you believe in the construct of that type of like messaging?
Well, it's interesting that you should say that, because I just did an interview with one of my clients for my YouTube channel about a week ago. And one of the first questions I asked her is, what has been your manifestation journey? What has been your experience with manifesting before working with me? And one of the things that she brought up was having explored The Secret, the book, the video, all the information there. And she felt sorely disappointed with it because she wasn't able to apply this knowledge and reap the benefits in her life. So I think it's good food for thought. I don't think it gives you the roadmap that AOM provides my clients. And I've heard this time and time again from clients, and about The Secret. And the way that I have come to view The Secret is, again, it's great food for thought. It's great information. I think there's so much truth to it. But the problem is that so many people are left disappointed and despondent because they have no way to experience themselves the attributes of what they're installing and the truths of what they're talking about. And it can be very frustrating, and I get that. So, that's how I feel about it, is that it's great information, but more importantly is how do we extract, how do we experience
Mm.
what is actually possible? How do we master the manifestation process? You know?
Yeah, I mean, and that's it. I mean, I would say from my perspective, there's definitely a level of you're putting out a signature, a frequency, as you would put it, an energy, and other people are connecting with that energy, and then poof, there you have another client, and you have another client, you have another client, because they're resonating with that. And it doesn't have to be something they're conscious of. They can just, it just aligns themselves and brings them right to your front door, and then you hand them the tools. Would that be something that you would agree with? Or
Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, I do agree with that. I think that, I've been doing this work with the public for over a decade. And I have just manifested all of it through using my system and utilizing energy. So it's just through the system. I don't pay for advertising. I don't market in media and do it all these things. I don't do that. I don't need to do that. I don't think, first of all, it's really necessary. So I don't have to. I just use the system, and it works beautifully. And it's been over 10 years that I've been doing this full time. So there's something to that. I mean, if it's been that
Yeah.
long, clearly it must be working.
Yeah.
But and it's a real thing, that because it's funny, people think sometimes that manifesting or law of attraction is something that you opt to do, like taking a yoga class or something. But what they don't really realize, it's not some kind of hobby. It's something that you're doing, and you can't not do it. You can't opt out of manifesting and creating your life. You're either doing it consciously or unconsciously. And if you're doing it consciously, you're going to get what you want. If you're doing it unconsciously, you're going to get what you probably don't want. And I think a lot of people who are creating their lives unconsciously, I being included in that, back in the day, would sit there and go, why is it more bad things happen than good things? Where's this balance? I feel like there's fewer good things and more bad things, and it's frustrating and it's upsetting. I remember sitting there on my couch going, all I have to show for in my life is frustration and disappointment. I can't think of really anything else. That's what it's all boiled down to. My life, frustrating and disappointing. It was an awful place to be in. It was very difficult to live in that world. And I remember it like so clearly. And this is before, creating the AOM system and utilizing it. And thank God, I mean, we using this system. I don't have those days anymore. It's like I'm remembering something that happened to someone else. I can't relate to it
Mm.
any longer because I live in a completely different realm now. And that's my signature is magic and miracles, because that is what my life is like now. And my clients come back and they go, now I understand from experience why you sign out magic and miracles, because I feel like I'm in that land now. And it's like, yeah, that's exactly why, that signature came about from my experiences. It wasn't a wish, it was the result of doing the AOM system.
Which is a testament to, you. And I mean, a lot of my audience, I sort of tune them into frequency. So all the OGs that are out there that are experiencing that will experience the admission and transmission of you in this interview, which is really cool. It's like it's very simple. There's not any angles within you in relation to what you're putting out. And that's just representative in your field, just looking at that. I would say there's maybe a little bit of an excess in the spleen energy, but I mean, that can be transferred over from, the maternal earth energy that is part of the acquisition of that particular channel. And so within Taoism, we sort of look at the 5 major organs, and everything has a virtue and an excess. And so what you would say would be a virtue or an emotion, and you want to acquire the virtue over the emotions to balance the energetic component. So you put out so much incredible expansive energy, and you validate it with all the people around you, and they replicate that energy too. There's just a little bit excess, and that goes through the ecosystem. So there's spleen, kidneys, liver, lungs, and heart. And so looking at the ecosystem of that would probably be the only excess. And that can transmute itself into a little bit of OCD or anxiety or things of that nature that sort of come out that way. And that's just big humanness. And that doesn't mean that that's your reality 24 hours a day or even 5 seconds, but just at this particular moment. Does that make any sense to you at all?
I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, it's all energy. And I won't go any further than that because, I get a lot of my students are like, you're aura dipping again. That's not very nice of you to do that. It's a habit of sensory perception. My training decades ago, I just woke up one day and all the information was in front of me like 1,000 icons on a computer screen. So what happens is you're able to just put your intention to anything, and information just comes up. So it's kind of like excess. And I actually was overwhelmed for about a week where I almost said, I don't want to do this anymore. This is way too much for me. It's like you're getting everything at once. So then you just go through the energy centers of the individual. Someone might call it a chakra. And then you're able to get a mental, emotional, and physical state of that individual by reading these energies.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of,
I'm just recovering from the flu.
Yeah. It's not, it absolutely is not representative of anything more than a snapshot. It's a second of energy. But, and someone that is so committed to your belief system, it is transmuted through your energy expression and your aura and your field and everything else. So, it's interesting though, when you hear these sort of tidbits, you're going to like, oh, that kind of makes sense in the cycle of where I was physically from, a flu that I had. And I love those type of moments because people will go, how did you even, I don't prescribe or subscribe or know anything. It's just information. And, you take it for what you want. I mean, I was interviewing a guy, and he's a devout Christian, and I watched Jesus Christ like morphing in and out of his aura, and it was a huge expression of who he is. And I said, well, that's a very big part of your life. And he goes, yeah, Jesus is, he's my man. He tells me. I said, have you heard of reincarnation? He's like, I haven't really given anything to it in the sense of my belief system because I don't know it to be true. I haven't read anywhere. And I said, okay. Well, if I was to give you a question of who do you think you're a reincarnation of, if you had to come up with someone wildly in your imagination, just a thought of, because I could see this very clear presence of this person. And he goes, all right, well, if I had to come up with an idea in my mind that who I might be a reincarnation of, and I said, stop, don't say anything. And he goes, okay, so who are you? I'll tell you who you're a reincarnation of. And he goes, who? Martin Luther King. And he went, whoa. And so that stopped his whole sense of, he goes, that was 10,000% what I was going to say. And then when you start looking at how he represents himself, he's a young man. He's maybe in his late 20s, early 30s, and he is powerful. When he steps in a room, he's a motivator. He's a marketing guy. His presence precedes him. And so when he speaks on things, people listen, and there's a sense of wisdom and an old world within him that goes way beyond what he physically looks like. And so he was just like, he didn't know what to say. And that that twisted his mind a little bit, because within his construct, that type of stuff doesn't exist. And certainly you can't possibly be able to read what I'm thinking in my mind. Well, I'm sorry, that's very possible. It's just how you're able to perceive it. And then, mind reading in of itself is nothing more than a thought processes. Like, have you heard of a thing called ideomotor response?
No.
Okay, so that again is a transmission. It's like basically an idea in motion, right? So the idea is transmitted within, spirituality. Someone might call it a thought form,
Oh,
a projection, whatever you want to call it. But some people will measure it through the transmission of their physical body. So tarot cards, pendulums, all this kind
yeah.
of stuff. The what do you call it? The tuning forks. People transmute this information, and so it comes out through messaging, and accurate or inaccurate. And so, that information is relevant when you start looking at people closely in relation to information. That comes out very clearly. Like I like to do a little, it's not a party trick, but you're just transmitting that information, where I'll take someone, for example, I'm out here in Nevada, so I'm in Las Vegas. And so I'll tell them, hey, look, okay, we're in MGM Grand. Take an object, any object, I don't care what it is, and they'll just take a coin, whatever. Go somewhere in the hotel and drop it off. And this is a 5,000 room hotel. Then they come back to me and go, okay, now through your transmission and your thought form that you've already created, I'm going to find where that is. And you got 5, and by reading the transmission of energy that's coming from this person, you're able to dictate the excess or less of, and you just follow that path of energy, and it takes you right back there because they've got it in their mind. So you're connecting with their thoughts. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. I've done a lot of psychic work, and I didn't know what this formal word that you used was. I wasn't familiar with that, but yeah,
Yeah.
I've always been very intuitive my whole life, and I'm an empath. And yeah, so I know what you're referring to. And yeah, I have friends who do similar work that you're talking about as well, like locating something, or yeah, or
It's
reading
more.
inanimate objects and getting stories from them, for instance, and background on it, just really picking up on energy. And because everything is energy. So, of course, why not? And you can't destroy energy either.
Can't be
So,
well, the old classic one-liner, it can't be created or destroyed. If you embody that and validate that, then it becomes realized, right? It's
yeah,
like, okay, oh well, if that's the case, then it's ongoing, right? So it never stops. It's
right.
present at all times. And so, that level of sensory perception that's all it is. So, if I'm channeling one of my teachers, or I'm doing some mediumship or psychic stuff, it's all just a developmental thing. As you would acquire it as an intuitive sort of like practice, this is something that's more within the nature of who you are, due to the expression of the pure essence of you. And that can be representative in the, yin energy, right? And so most women, because of that yin energy, because they are very expressive of that, they develop intuitive skills at a much higher rate, and then they can really refine those skills. And that's not so common for, say, someone like myself, which transmits a lot of yang energy, but I developed the yin, what we call yin eyes within Taoism. So you're able to see the spirit world and all that kind of good stuff. That is just a sensory perception. But your transmission is really something else. But that goes in line with how you're transmitting that earth energy, and it's very, very nurturing, and it makes you feel very at home, very calm, very relaxed, and it's like an instant thing. It's like either you're doing it intentionally, or it's just you. More likely, it's just you, and it's really something beautiful and special to experience. And you want to be around people that are like-minded. You want to be around people that express this type of energy, so that you can embody it. And that's honestly, I understand why all your clients are successful, through your tutelage for your training is because you live it. You're an expression of it, and it's really powerful, and that's where people gravitate to energies for that very reason. They don't understand it. They just like, I like this person, or I don't like this person. It's simplistic in of itself. But I think we've run over here, as I do. This is the nature of, and I don't want to hold up Sterling any longer. I'm so grateful that she spent this much time with myself and the audience. What I will close out with today, thank you so much for all your mastery and insight into all things manifestation. I will ask you this: what is your definition of consciousness?
Consciousness. The consciousness that I relate to is an higher wisdom. It's a knowing. It's this intelligence that's within us that we have yet to explore and expand and deepen, But it is really, in one succinct way of defining it, a higher wisdom. It's a higher, that consciousness is higher wisdom. It is connected to the truth of all things.
I love it. I love everything you're saying here today. And in closing, I would like you to share with the audience, what are you doing right now? What is Sterling doing with the rest of the world? What are you putting out? What's your latest? And I'm going to put all your social under this podcast so people know where to find you. What would you like to share with the audience?
Well, I'm working with clients as always, one-on-one. I also am working with this entity called the Nava House, which embodies a lot of people in the wellness business, and I'm guiding them through the AOM system to master the manifestation system and also get the results that they want in their lives. So that's a collective that I'm guiding in February. And what else am I up to? I am, and just working with some companies as well so that they can truly prosper, and with their employees, people that are working with them, and they're utilizing the system to really get the results that they are aiming for. That's about it. Just working, with companies and collectives and clients one-on-one right now. I have a book called The AOM System Manifestation Mastery in 30 Days. It's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble that just came out recently. So I'm taking a break from writing at the moment and working with more groups live and people all over the world. I work with people through Zoom and all over the world. I have clients. So that's what I'm up to.
Well, I want to thank you. I want to thank the audience. I want to thank Sterling for coming in here today and sharing all her wisdom. And I want to definitely get the audience to check out her book, her services, her upcoming events, and you can find all that down below this podcast. And what a pleasure. I'm just so grateful. You are truly an example of consciousness, not a repeatable, echoing rhetoric that most people are speaking these days. Because when we embody consciousness, we're really accepting everyone as they are, truly. Mm-hmm. And so this industry is so not that. I thought that when I entered this 5 months ago, focusing on certain things that my teachers had told me to do, I was like, this is weird. This is like I thought there were egos in the health and fitness industry. Nothing like this. Nothing. It's a whole nother level. And it's beautiful, but it's like there are very few shining lights like yourself that are that actually talk the talk and walk the walk. Mm. And that's where you'll find a lot of people will speak a lot and then they want to retreat and not actually share in an audience setting where, perhaps maybe we could have a really healthy conversation about something like we did today and enlightening each other in such incredible insight. And most people sort of have this sort of rhetoric and they just keep repeating it. And then when you actually have to have a conversation outside of that, they don't know what they're talking about. And that would then lean back to the secret. It's a construct that's conceptual until it's not. And so it only is and then there was a few pieces there that make me understand that, when you have to give yourself your highest values, you're separating yourself from the actual outcome, which will always make you limited, and you will never, ever materialize and manifest what you want, which is how most people come to me and go, the secret didn't work. I'm like, I can help you understand that because of that separation. Whereas when you all the way you described your system is just so simplistic and powerful, and that less is more. That's the reality. We're not going into deep dives into the inner workings of your, 47 personalities and consciousness. Listening to Sterling and how she puts out her information it's beautiful. And I'm very grateful. I want to thank you for sharing your time with me. And I feel really grateful that I have a new friend, and I look forward to reaching out with you in the future at some point and revisiting this incredible conversation.
Oh, I would love that. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you having me on today, Sinchi, and I'm very grateful. Thank you. And I love everything that you had to say too. I really appreciated everything that you had to say and getting to know you better.
Yeah, we're all just sort of like, in entangled per se. The quantum model, who knows? We're all in this together. We're all expressing ourselves, but we resonate. You and I resonated, and that's how it works. You get people that are like chalk and cheese, chalk on nails on a chalkboard, and that's how that energy works. But anyway, I won't keep you. Thank you so much, Sterling. I really appreciate you. I appreciate the audience. I am your humble servant and Sifu, Taoist Master San Ching, and I will see you in the next one.